always had some fear to work with ceramic, to be honest, because it is it's also very religious material in a way, but also it like what I heard from professional ceramists, that it's not possible to make casts, and I don't feel like I want to, to clay, to mold, to model. For me, it was always interesting to have this kind of cast, like something what is like exact, like real body. But also, but this time we found solution how to make casts, but in ceramic, in clay, and so yeah, it's like body parts, and they burned, and it was also debates if I should paint them or not. And then we made this experiment. I decided, okay, I will try to paint them, and like cover the by glaze. So in general now, in like final result, it looked like real body, very much like real body, and it has very different kind of feelings than its casts, what I usually do, but also it's also very fragile material. So it's like a salt, not like salt, but it's different, but also fragile, and. Yeah, it is very much like linked to this religious story that we all come from clay. So I don't know. It's interesting for me to work with this material, and I think that I won't stop. I will continue to work with clay now. I discovered for me new material, which is very traditional, very old, very classic, very sculptural, and I was always escaped from this classical. I went to something modern, but now I met with something very, very old, like, yeah, and while I was sculpting or like doing casts in clay and painting, I had this idea that I was also reflecting on my own situation, family situation, political situation, and was questioning myself, where is the next step and the destination and where I go. In the between of working with the clay, I was trying to organize life, everyday life, and this dream of having constant base. So I think that I was super angry this summer, like extremely angry. But as we discussed before, my anger go to the art. It's quite difficult for me to fight with people. I can, of course, be angry and nervous as everyone else, but I mean, like to make scandal. So I put all these fears and frustration in this clay and painting on clay casts. And I was thinking that, I was also thinking that, okay, but I'm an architect, so maybe I can design for us like this dream house. And then I was thinking that maybe I should model like from clay. And then I was thinking that maybe it will be these body parts as parts of the construction, or as part of the future home. I was thinking, first the idea was to make a table from the body parts, table of negotiations with question mark, because it is a lot of conversations, and also in the European Union, that maybe Ukraine should sit in a table of negotiation and agreed on something with Putin. But from the first day of bombing, our parliament, our president said, okay, we agree, we can sit, but we cannot, but they all the time changing, you know, the idea, what we need to give them and so on and so on. But now after so many horror situations and destroy lives and buildings, houses, tables. I don't know if we can sit in this table, if it's possible. Yeah, it's also this table. It's very political kind of work, piece of art, because I also try to somehow deal with my own situation, with my own kind of story, life story, being second time refugee now. First time it was in 2014, and I got a document in Ukraine that I am temporary displaced person from Crimea, temporary occupied territory by Russia Federation. But also when Crimea was occupied, the process started of occupation. It was in March, actually in end of February 2014, so like exactly 8 years ago. I was in Sweden for my marriage as performance, as action, political action, and I was on my way back to Ukraine to go to Crimea then. But while I was in the plane, happened annexation. And then when I arrived to Kiev, my papa called me and he said that I will remember rest of my life he called me and he said, Masha, war started, you should not come. And it was in 2014 in February, so it was not this February for me. And that time, to be honest, that time was much more difficult for me because I was not ready at all. I was this kind of happy youngster, whatever, revolutionary, and now I'm a happy young mom. So it's a bit more difficult than to be revolutionary, to be honest. But this time I was very much ready. I was ready for bombing, actually, since Eva was born, to be honest. I had this fear under my skin, and I was waiting bombing for New Year Eve, to be honest. I could not sleep, and I fight with Oleg actually quite a lot. Fight also, it's not maybe I was not fighting like normal people. I was like, but we should go somewhere. It was like this fight, and now maybe I should make scandal or make horrible piece of art. Yeah. So anyway, because I was sure that it will be even worse than it was. After what I what I experienced already in Crimea with my family and many kind of not really nice situation and losing home for real, I was thinking that it will be much more worse this time. Since 2016, I met him in 2016. I had this sculpture project in the west part of Ukraine, in Lviv. And I searched for some technical person who can be engineer, architect, who can work properly with materials, who knows how to work with materials. And we met with him, and we started to collaborate, started to work, and it was very interesting how he implement many ideas like for the construction, but it affects visual, kind of like result of the sculptures, and also he helped me with all my performances. He organized everything. So we started to work since end of 2016, just after I made performance raft Crimea, when I was living on the raft, safety raft. And he was very much supported like this idea, and I discovered that he has this very pro-Western ideas. You know, he is very much leftist, if we can say, socially oriented person. So, like in political direction, we kind of shared the same vision, and in art. So it was really nice to start to work, but also. That time, to be honest, I was very depressed. I was extremely depressed from Crimea. It was already 2 years of annexation, and I was not at home. My brother was in prison. I don't know. It was a really dark time for me, and it's always difficult to talk to me about this. But I was thinking to commit suicide, to be honest. I didn't want to, like, I could not manage this, like, everything. 2014 I made first replica, but then it was destroyed, and then I didn't make any. But then, yes, this green sculpture with separate legs, it was the first work what we made together. It was our collaboration, and actually it was mostly did by him. And all these chains under the skin, it was his idea, because we were like experimenting with this material is epoxy, and we needed to find like how to have hard material. But then we start to collaborate and start to live together, and I found the way that through art and love I can continue somehow keep going, keep living, and then I turned to working with casts, and I made replicas together with him. Did a lot of experiments in his studio with epoxy, with different materials. So it was actually very fruitful and interesting, and it was my way to escape from this dark side, to heal, I would say. And so for me, art and collaboration with Oleh was my way for healing. I made in 2009 first cast of me, and then I made in 2010 kind of like army of clone from plaster, from gips. And then I placed many casts of me in a public space in street, and I observed how people reacted, and sometimes they destroyed also. And the material was very fragile, but I was searching for even more fragile material. So I started to think, and then I read I don't remember. I read some article that during Second World War, in concentration camp, fat from humans was using for creating soap, and this was like shocking for me, and I decided to use soap, but I never said like publicly that was the reason because of Hitler paranoia, but then I was thinking that it's also nice that soap has the same nearly the same consistency as human body. It consists from 80% from water. Also, it getting old, it's nice, and it's a beautiful kind of metaphor of vanitas, when human is so bubble that it's very fragile, that human life can be destroyed any second. So that was like the main reason why I decided to make a cast of me in soap, but it was in 2012. And we installed in Izolyatsiya Art Center. And 2 years later, those figures were destroyed not by nature and being old, partly yes, but because they were shooting as targets by pro-Russian terrorist militias, DNR, self-proclaimed DNR militias. And yeah, but it's sad. It is prison now, this art center, and they destroyed all these figures for purpose. They gave interview to Russian journalists. Actually, this Russian journalist sent me the information. They contacted me, and they said that this guy, he publicly on the camera, he said that it's his own performance and action to shoot to these sculptures, and they know who am I, what I'm doing, and they announced a list of degenerative artists, and they printed faces of different political activists, Ukrainian political activists, and they put on the face of my figures and shoot to them. But then, after that, they bombed this lipstick, huge lipstick in Izoliatia, and many Boris Mikhailov photos they shoot. So it was a list of great artists. Sadly, they destroyed the works. But later, a friend of mine, he is a journalist, and he was in this prison in Izoliatia. And he told me that in this garden where my figure stayed, they actually killed people. Yeah, it was exactly 5 years after they shot to my figures, 9th of June, and turned into the prison and concentrate camp, we can say this, because they're torturing people also. But I did this in Kiev, not far away from Babin Yar, which is also a very important part on the map of Europe. And in this place we have studio and our apartment where we live in, and in the park I shoot to replicas. The same figures I used for shooting for the film, it's like fiction movie, 1 hour and a half, Swiss-Ukrainian film, which called Forgotten. And I said, like later, it's not forgotten. But that film was about people living in DNR and LNR, in Donbass area. Like that time it was 5 years under occupation, and how those people really invisible. And that's why it was also, but I was playing a role in that film as an actor, and also I was doing performance, I was shooting. Person who trained me to shoot actually now killed by Russian soldiers. He was in army. So yeah. It was in 2018, also 5 years after annexation and beginning of war. But it was 8th of March. I made first illustration in Mistecki Arsenal, and it was kind of like celebration of 8th of March, but also it was my way to, to clean away all this kind of like not nice stories and dark sides, but also it was this kind of like conversation through performance that women, female bodies usually even more fragile and how to say more affected by war, by immigration. I was in Sweden, married for revolution, because it was Maidan period also, and I wanted to show that we look to the best, and it was like way of solidarity from her side, from so it was. I was changing my life, risking, And then, so I didn't think to apply for residency in Sweden. I mean, I didn't plan for that. It was not the plan. We were thinking to collaborate, to make a project, to build the bridges between blue and yellow countries. So, pink dreams. But then the reality was a bit different. And suddenly I became displaced, but my registration in Crimea was kind of a problem. I could not get any medical help. My bank account was blocked, and I didn't have money to buy own apartment in Kiev or somewhere else. I just finished education, and it was decision that I should maybe apply for residency in Sweden. So 16th of March 2014 was a pseudo referendum in Crimea organized by Russia Federation. 18th of March, they announced that Crimea is part of Russia. And suddenly I became, with my Ukrainian passport and Crimean registration, kind of like non-person. And 16th of March, when was a referendum, I understand that everything will be disaster because it will be no honest referendum. I called to migration office in Sweden, and 18th of March I went to the Swedish embassy, and since that time my journey being refugee started. I all the time have so many bureaucrat kind of process and applications, so it's like a constant visa question. And since that time, the question, from where are you, it became like mad, and it's mess for me. I don't know how to explain. It's really a long story. If I say that I'm from Crimea, it's not true. I mean, I am from there, but I never been there since 2013 even. And if I say that I'm from Kiev, but I'm not originally from Kiev, and I lived in so many places, so like from where I am, it's difficult answer. And this journey and all these bureaucratic questions where you need to be in the frames, but I am totally out of any kind of box, any frame, and it makes more problems for me and more questions. And so like all this process and the conversations and writing emails to all these kind of bureaucrats and authority makes me so annoyed and angry and frustrated. So sometimes I'm so pissed. I grab my watercolors and I paint on these papers. Sometimes it's really a routine. I'm sitting and painting until I'm like full, but I'm continue, and then I don't touch for some while any water, and then again. It's the same with I think now my ceramic table that became sometimes super fast, and I get out like with all this kind of emotions and also visualization of this kind of what I would love to answer for real. So yeah, watercolors, it's my way to grab the reality, to hold on something, to hold that I'm still here and I'm not losing my mind, because sometimes to explain again and again and again, and question from where are you and what is your plan and where you will be. I don't have answers sometimes also, and like how I can explain in 2-3 sentences all this like half of my life nearly story of being this somewhere. Yeah. And for example, watercolors with pregnancy, I think it was also, my pregnancy was not easy. And it's like you having someone inside you and you're taking care of it, and you don't know the final result. You just guess and hope. So it was a lot of also fears, but I didn't let fear to occupy me. And it was painful pregnancy. So I let all pain or also jokes about my body to be as a bubble. Yeah, to be on a paper. So I was thinking that visual language, it's my own language. It's quite difficult for me to express all feelings in words. It's better, I'm doing better in watercolors and sculptures and performance. Then I can express, but when it's about words, I don't know, it's difficult. I made in 2018, 8th of March, and I was born in 1988. 18th of March, Putin announced Crimea part of Russia. So I think that number 8 somehow very much implement into my life and body. And yeah, I was very depressed and in very dark period of my life, and I was very ill. So when I met Oleh and we started to collaborate, I was thinking that, and I started doing this illustration, like wash away and start everything from the beginning, from zero. I decided that I will do this illustration 88 times. So more or less, I will live until 88 minimum. And like I counted when it will be, and then definitely I will return to Crimea, unoccupied, deoccupied Crimea. And so it was my own way to make me occupied with something and to wish that it will come true. And I have planned for many years. And I was thinking to do this performance in many different locations around the globe, to mark also space by this kind of like performance, and also my figures, but also, as I said, like to hold, just to manifest that I am here, I am existing. And yeah, that's why this number. And this time I hope that we will manage to make performance here on the stairs, and it will be very important for me this time, because it will be 8 years since many dark moments started, and I think that yeah, I did many times already this kind of like illustration, but every time when I'm doing it, every time I'm meeting with myself, and I meet with all traumas and all kind of scars, but also I try to heal them. I try to take away and forgive myself also. I think it's important, but at the same time, it's really to face all that, and Yeah, it's a questioning if we can take away, if we can wash and forget, but to be able to keep going, to live, we need to meet with this, with the past.